My father had been dead for 11 days when I found the drawer. It was hidden beneath the old desk in his bedroom, the same desk where he had paid bills, written grocery lists, and spent countless evenings pretending he wasn't tired. I had gone into his room that morning because the house was finally quiet. My mother had gone to the cemetery with my aunt, and for the first time since the funeral, I was alone with the things he had left behind. I wasn't looking for anything valuable. I wasn't even looking for memories. I just wanted to finish cleaning the room. Then I noticed the drawer. It was small, no wider than my hand, built into the bottom of the desk. I had never seen it before. There was a tiny brass lock on the front, but no key. I ran my fingers over it. There was something strange about the way my father had built the drawer. It wasn't part of the original desk. The wood was slightly darker, and the edges didn't quite match. Someone had added it later. I called my brother. "Did Dad ever mention a secret drawer in his desk?" There was a pause. Then he said, "What drawer?" "The little one underneath." Another pause. "I don't know." "You're sure?" "Yes." But his voice didn't sound certain. I looked at the lock again. "Dad didn't leave a key?" "No." I hung up. For the next hour I tried everything I could think of. I checked his key ring. Nothing. I searched his desk. Nothing. I looked through his old toolbox. Nothing. Then I remembered something. After my father died, my mother had handed me a small envelope. She had said, "Your father wanted you to have this." I had forgotten about it. I ran downstairs and opened the kitchen cabinet where I had put it. Inside was a single brass key. No note. No explanation. Just the key. I held it in my palm for several seconds. Then I went back upstairs. The key fit perfectly. The lock clicked. And when I pulled the drawer open, I immediately knew that whatever was inside had been hidden for a reason. There were 3 things: a photograph, a stack of bank statements, and a letter with my name on it. But it wasn't the letter that scared me. It was the photograph, because standing beside my father was a little girl I had never seen before. And on the back, in my father's handwriting, were 6 words: "She is the reason I left." I stared at those words until they blurred. My father had spent 30 years telling me one story about his life. Now, 11 days after his death, I was looking at proof that the story wasn't true. I turned the photograph over again. The girl couldn't have been more than 7. She had dark hair, a small gap between her front teeth, and the same crooked smile my father used to have when he was trying not to laugh. I looked at her face, then at my father's, then back at hers. I felt a strange pressure in my chest, because there was something familiar about her. Not her face, something else. The way she stood, the way her left hand was tucked into the pocket of her dress, the little silver bracelet around her wrist. I had seen that bracelet before, in one of my mother's childhood photographs. I immediately took the photograph downstairs. My mother was back from the cemetery. She was sitting at the kitchen table with my aunt when I walked in. I put the photograph in front of her. She looked at it, and all the color disappeared from her face. "Where did you get that?" I didn't answer. "Mom," I said quietly. "Who is she?" My mother stared at the photograph. My aunt looked away. That was when I knew. Whatever was in that drawer wasn't just a secret. It was a secret the 2 of them already knew. My mother finally whispered, "Your father wasn't supposed to leave that drawer for you." "Why?" "Because he promised me he wouldn't." I felt my heart beating harder. "You knew about it?" "Yes." "For how long?" She looked at my aunt. 27 years. I almost laughed. 27 years. My mother nodded. "And you never thought I should know?" "It wasn't our secret to tell." "Then whose was it?" My mother didn't answer. I pushed the photograph toward her. "Who is this girl?" My mother closed her eyes. "She was your father's daughter." I froze. "What?" "She was born before we met." I stared at the photograph. "Dad had another daughter?" My mother nodded. "She was 7 when I met him." I looked at the little girl again. "Then where is she now?" My mother swallowed. "We don't know." That answer was worse than anything I had imagined. "What do you mean you don't know?" "She disappeared." I sat down. "When?" 27 years ago. My mind struggled to process the numbers. 27 years. The exact amount of time my mother said she had known about the drawer. Dad had a daughter who disappeared? My mother nodded. "Why didn't he ever tell me?" "Because he was afraid." "Afraid of what?" My mother looked at me. "Of losing you too." I didn't understand. And then she told me the story my father had spent his entire life hiding. Before my father married my mother, he had been married once before. His first wife, Laura, had struggled with addiction. They had a daughter named Sophie. When Sophie was 7, Laura disappeared for several days. My father found her unconscious in an apartment. Sophie was there. After that, social services became involved. My father fought for custody. He won. For a short time, he had Sophie living with him. Then Laura came back. She claimed she had changed. My father didn't believe her, but Sophie did. She wanted her mother. And my father couldn't bring himself to tell his little girl that her mother wasn't safe, so he agreed to supervised visits. One afternoon, Laura never brought Sophie back. She disappeared with her. My father spent months searching, then years. He hired investigators, called hospitals, checked shelters, contacted police. Nothing. Eventually the case went cold. My father never stopped looking. But there was one thing he never told anyone. The last time he saw Sophie, she had given him a bracelet, the same silver bracelet in the photograph. She told me, my mother said, that she would come back when she was old enough to find him. I looked at the photograph. So why did Dad tell me she was the reason he left? My mother shook her head. He didn't leave because of Sophie. Then what does that mean? I don't know. That was when I noticed the bank statements. I picked them up. They were from an account I had never heard of. Every month my father had transferred money into it. The amounts weren't huge, but the payments went back 27 years. Every single month. I looked at my mother. Where was this money going? She didn't know. I grabbed my father's old laptop. It took me 2 hours to get into it. When I finally opened his financial records, I found the same account, but the account holder's name wasn't Sophie. It was a woman's name I didn't recognize. Anna Miller. I searched the name. Nothing. I searched old addresses. Nothing. Then I found an email. One message. Sent 3 weeks before my father died. The subject line said, "I found her." My hands went cold. The email was from my father's old lawyer. I opened it. "Robert, after all these years, we have reason to believe Sophie is alive. The DNA results are conclusive. She is living under the name Anna Miller in Oregon. She has been located." I read the sentence again. My father had found her, after 27 years, 3 weeks before he died. And then I noticed something else. The email had been opened. The date was 2 days before my father's death, but there was no reply. I called the lawyer. He answered that evening. "Mr. Carter? No, I'm his daughter." There was silence. "I'm sorry for your loss. Did my father find Sophie?" "Yes." "Did he meet her?" Another pause. "Yes." My heart stopped. "When?" "About a month before he died." I sat down. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" "Your father asked me not to." "Why?" "He wanted to tell you himself." "What happened?" The lawyer sighed. "He met her, and she didn't want a relationship." I felt my chest tighten. "Why?" "Because she believed your father had abandoned her." I couldn't speak. The irony was almost unbearable. My father had spent 27 years looking for a daughter who believed he had abandoned her, and I had spent my entire childhood believing he loved her more than he loved me. The lawyer continued. She told him she had spent years believing he had stopped searching, but he never stopped. "I know. Then why didn't he prove it?" "He tried." "Then what happened?" "She asked him to leave her alone." I looked down at the photograph. The little girl was smiling. The woman my father found was apparently a stranger, but the lawyer hadn't finished. "Before your father left her, he gave her something." "What?" "A letter." My breathing changed. "Do you know what was in it?" "Yes." "What did it say?" He told her the truth. "What truth?" "That he had never stopped looking." I closed my eyes. Then I understood the drawer, the photograph, the bank statements, the letter. My father had not hidden them because he wanted to bury the past. He had hidden them because he was preparing to give me the truth. I opened the letter with my name on it. It was dated 6 weeks before his death. "My daughter," it began. I stopped reading for a moment. My father never called me that. He always called me kid. I continued. "There are things I should have told you years ago. I didn't tell you because I thought silence was protection. I was wrong." My eyes filled with tears. "I had another daughter before you. Her name is Sophie. I lost her when she was 7. I spent 27 years trying to find her." I kept reading. "When I met your mother, I was broken. I didn't want you to grow up carrying my grief. So I told you Sophie was gone. I never told you that I continued searching." Then came the sentence that changed everything. "I also never told you that I found her." I put the letter down. My mother was sitting across from me. "You knew?" She nodded. "When?" "A few weeks before he died." "Why didn't you tell me?" "He asked me not to." "Why?" "Because he wanted you to hear it from him. He could have told me. He was going to, but he didn't." "No." I felt anger rising. "He died before he could." My mother nodded. "He knew he was sick." I stared at her. "He knew?" "Yes, and nobody told me. He didn't want you to spend his final weeks watching him die." I stood up. "You all keep making decisions for me." My mother began crying. "I know. You decided what I should know." "I know." "You decided what I could handle." "I know. And now I find out Dad spent 27 years searching for his daughter, while I thought he was just living his life." My mother looked at me. "He loved you." "I know. But he loved Sophie too." I looked away. "I know." That was the hardest part. I had spent years secretly resenting a woman I had never met, a woman who had existed only as a shadow in my father's past. Now I understood that she wasn't my competition. She was another child who had been lost. The next morning, I drove to the address in Oregon. I didn't know what I expected. I wasn't sure if I should even go, but my father's letter contained one final instruction. If I don't get the chance to introduce you, then don't force yourself into her life. Just let her know that I never stopped loving her. I found the house around noon. It was small. White front door, 2 flower pots by the steps. A child's bicycle leaned against the garage. I almost turned around. Then the door opened. A woman stood there. She was around my age, dark hair. Same crooked smile, and on her wrist was a silver bracelet. She looked at me. Neither of us spoke. Finally she asked, "Are you Emma?" I nodded. "How do you know me?" "Your father told me." My heart broke. "You met him?" "Yes." "Did he tell you about me?" She smiled sadly. "He talked about you for hours." I didn't know what to say, so I handed her the letter. "He wrote this for you too." She took it. Her hands trembled. "I already have one." "What?" She disappeared inside. A minute later she returned holding a small envelope. "My father gave me this before he died." She looked at me. "He said if you ever found me, I should give this to you." I opened it. Inside was a photograph. It showed my father sitting at a kitchen table. On one side was Sophie, on the other side was me. It was impossible. The photograph was new, taken only weeks before he died. On the back he had written, "Maybe one day my daughters will stop carrying the pain I left behind." I started crying. Sophie did too. For 27 years, my father had believed he had failed both of us. But he had spent those years trying to repair something he couldn't undo. And in the end, the thing he left behind wasn't money. It wasn't property. It wasn't even an explanation. It was proof. Proof that he had searched. Proof that he had loved. Proof that sometimes people can make terrible choices while still loving the people those choices hurt. Sophie and I sat at her kitchen table for hours. We talked about him. She told me about the little things she remembered. The way he whistled when he cooked. The way he hated leaving lights on. The way he always carried peppermints in his pocket. I laughed because he did all of those things with me too. For the first time, I didn't feel jealous of her memories. I felt grateful, because she had memories I didn't have, and I had memories she didn't have. Between us, we had pieces of the same man. Before I left, Sophie gave me the silver bracelet. I shook my head. "No, that's yours." She smiled. "He wanted you to have it." I looked at it. "Why?" "Because he said you were the person he was most afraid of losing." I couldn't speak. I put the bracelet around my wrist. It fit perfectly. When I returned home, I opened the locked drawer one more time. The photograph was still there. The bank statements were still there. The letter was still there. But now I understood why my father had locked them away. He wasn't hiding his past from me. He was trying to make sure that when I finally opened that drawer, I would understand the whole story. For most of my life, I thought my father was a man who kept secrets. Now I know he was a man who carried them. There is a difference. Secrets are sometimes kept because people want to protect themselves, but burdens are sometimes hidden because people don't know how to share the weight. My father carried his for 27 years. I wish he had trusted me enough to let me carry a little of it with him. Maybe things would have been different. Maybe they wouldn't. I'll never know. But I do know this. The locked drawer didn't change my opinion of my father because I discovered he was perfect. It changed my opinion because I discovered he wasn't. He was frightened. He made mistakes. He kept things from me. He lost a daughter. He spent decades trying to find her. And when he finally did, she didn't immediately forgive him. Neither did I. But he never stopped loving either of us. Sometimes the truth doesn't make the past less painful. Sometimes it simply gives the pain a name. And once you know what you're carrying, you finally have a chance to put some of it down. I still have that little brass key. I keep it on my desk. Not because I need to remember what was inside the drawer. I remember that perfectly. I keep it because it reminds me that the people we love can leave behind questions we may never get to ask them. And if there is something you've been hiding from someone you love because you think you're protecting them, maybe ask yourself one question before you keep the secret another year. Are you protecting them from the truth, or are you protecting yourself from the consequences of telling it? Because sometimes the truth hurts, but sometimes the silence lasts much longer. If you were in my position, would you have searched for Sophie after discovering the drawer? Or would you have respected your father's decision to leave the past alone? Tell me what you would have done. And if this story stayed with you, subscribe for more emotional stories about family secrets, difficult choices, betrayal, forgiveness, and the truths people sometimes spend a lifetime trying to hide. Because sometimes the most important things our loved ones leave behind aren't the things they put on display. They're the things they lock away.